Hey, I am here to talk about the Everyone's a Critic film challenge. And the prompt that I'm talking about is body horror. And this one is a weird one for me because so many things can qualify. And I have a lot of movies that I thought maybe. I went back and forth between a few, but I decided to rewatch an old favorite of mine called Feed. And I think this qualifies as body horror. I'm not completely sure, but there's a lot of times where it's like almost a visceral reaction to things that's going on. So I'm going to count it. That's a genre. I'm not like 100% sure what qualifies as body horror. So we're going to go with Feed. Feed is a movie I saw many years ago, and there's a lot to it. There's a lot of stuff going on in it. It's about this law enforcement guy who's he believes that there's these women being murdered. And what it is there's sort of an exploitation going on of these women who want to be fed. It's sort of a fetish thing where women want to be fed, and there's the guys that feed them. So the women are like very large women. They enjoy feeding. It's, that's their thing. And that's all fine and good until it gets to the point where the guy realizes they're being killed. And so I think it's something that a lot of people are like, well, who cares? They're, what's going on. Like, no one else takes it as seriously, but he wants to obviously stop this crime from continuing. And so he starts investigating. And I think one of the reasons I think it's body horror is that there were times where it was really scary, things that are going on. And the woman was trapped there. She couldn't move or leave. And so she was just stuck with whatever the guy that was feeding her wanted to do. She was kind of at his mercy, and so when things were scary, she was stuck there, and that gave me a really strong body horror feel to it. It also addresses a lot of other issues, and he was basically making money betting on the women and collecting their stats and all this stuff. It was very dark web underground stuff. But I found it really sad that even till the end, the woman was not wanting help. She maybe wasn't realizing that she was going to be killed through this. And she was fighting against the police officer until she was killed. And then what happens in the ending is kind of a reversal. You can see as this, law enforcement person goes on, or investigator. I forgot what exactly he is. My attention to detail is not as great as my love of movies. So I'll watch things and I will pay attention to themes, but details just don't stick with me for whatever reason. But anyway, he gets really affected by all this. It affects his personal life. It affects his mental state. And so when in the end, I thought it was really interesting. So he kind of does the reverse to the guy who is killing these women. And it really stuck out to me because that was another body horror moment. And both of these are like, how can somebody have that level of cruelty? I don't think it's cruel, by the way, to, feed someone or have that fetish, whatever, that made them happy, that worked for them. People have all kinds of opinions. I try not to have opinions on other people's bodies that are not mine because it's none of my business, and how other people choose to use the time that they have in the world and the body that they're given is not my business at all. So that wasn't an issue for me. It was more so that it was such a vulnerable position, and that's what really stood out to me and kind of gave me an anxiety feeling when watching it. Is, because they were trapped by this monstrous person who was mistreating them in a lot of ways, and also was feeding them other dead people's fat stuff. Whoa, that was super gross. So yeah, I know this is full of spoilers, and hopefully you've watched it if you're watching this and want to talk about it. Otherwise, go watch it if you want to. But I thought it addressed a subculture that isn't usually talked about, something that we kind of avoid, touched on some topics, touched on some fetish behavior that I don't think everyone understands, that even if it resulted in their deaths, they were okay with it at that point because it was part of their fetish and how they wanted to live their life. And even if that meant their life was shorter, to them it had more quality in that they were doing what they wanted to do. But that was always one I like to revisit every now and then, just because there's parts of it that are so brutal, and like just the way things are shot. There's like a hit that just, it's like, that startles me when you watch it, because the way it is shot looks like you have a visceral reaction to some of the things, and not every movie can do that for me, and this one does. So that is definitely my pick for body horror.